So I'm going to get a little bit more tactical and put it in the context of something more strategic. And I'm going to end with a challenge for us because we seem to look at our job as inside out. What technology do we have and how can we apply it? Which is a good way to get productivity, to get benefits for companies and organizations. Those are good things, but the challenge is going to be looking at it from the outside in, because I think that's where the big shift is going to happen. I actually agree with what Nathaniel was saying in terms of goal-directed and bots, et cetera. The only difference is I would say that the bots will bid on work. So Nathaniel could have been rescued by a flight car service that realized that he was in trouble and could have come and gotten him and taken his car back to his house. So if you have multiple services bidding for an outcome, he may not have been stuck. But that's a future world where agents will bid on work, and you can read more about that in my 2013 book. So basically, we're going to talk about the tactics. And we're going to talk about the fact that we have, and by the way, I've changed companies. I was with Aragon. Now I'm with my own company that I invented. Came up with a fancy French name since I pretend to be an artist. So it's called Floresque. So that really doesn't matter much. What matters is I now have the freedom to pursue what I want to pursue, not the revenue my boss says I need to get, which is nice. I was hoping to reach that point sometime earlier in my life, but now I've gotten it. So it gives me freedom to choose, pick and choose what things are important. But today, what we see is technologies and organizations have the same stovepipe problem that organizations do. I mean, if you talk to people that are stuck inside of insurance companies, inside of finance companies, inside of any kind of organization that you can imagine, they always complain about the silos, right? We really can't do an end-to-end process. We really can't do goal-directed. We really can't, and silos are in the way. Well, we've got the same things with our markets. That's created by the fact that investors want money. They want markets that they can invest in. They're not interested in cooperating with other markets. They're interested in just getting profit for their company. And I don't blame them. If I had money at risk, I would be the same way. But we see that it creates a zero-sum game. And what I'm encouraged about, what I'm seeing in recent years, is people are saying, hey, look, we need each other. We need to break down these market silos. We need to work with each other. And what we're finding is when I see, hear, and talk to end user customers, what I'm seeing is that they're actually cooperating with each other. And some vendors have a vision for bringing things together for organizations. So, and organizations are branching out in multiple directions because the boundaries between industries are shifting. I've seen many charts that show that if you were in one industry, you may shift to another because it's convenient. You may put a new front end on your system so that you can win more business. So what I think is the key to the outside-in view is the constituents are driving the goals, not the companies. The companies were driving the goals for profitability, which we understand we have to have. But customers, employees, partners are driving where we're going. And so we have to take a tactical approach to build towards something. So the first thing I'm going to talk about, and you've seen this before, is what is the ultimate destination? We're going to talk about combinations that are working today, and how are we going to leverage the collaboration trends. There's a lot of collaboration that's going on at individual levels, corporate levels, and market levels. And we're going to be in a co-opetition world, and it's going to be dynamic, like Nathaniel was talking about. So I'm a big believer in what is known as an open digital business platform suite. I know that BPM didn't deliver the kind of environment where users and IT could work together. We got part of that, part of the problem, and I was discussing that with my road mate, Mark McGregor, on the way over here. 9 hours we were discussing problems, and we had them all solved, obviously. Is that process doesn't have the notion of a three-tier architecture. Logical equals physical, so there's no real separation. And the digital business platform, I think, is another opportunity to have business and IT collaborate. Or one of them is going to have to go, and guess which one's going to go? It's going to be IT. So, and this digital business platform really takes the approach of an outside in. Even though you look at the core, there's an inside out, because we have emerging digital technologies at the core, and we combine process, cognition, data, IoT, and business applications. But the key is the human engagement part. We heard Nathaniel talk about that. The idea of omni-contextual, so you know where anybody is at any one point in time, what device they have close to them, even if it's an implanted chip in their brain. And it has a variable speed operation. So I believe that the ultimate combination of the things that are working together tactically are going to head towards a digital business platform. Are all the digital business platforms going to look the same? No. Is this an architecture where a company can put together multiple platforms to create their own architecture? Yes. And by the way, this was something that I came up with before I joined Aragon, and Aragon gave me the bandwidth to put some structure around it. And these open suites are flourishing. They're automation suites, they're low-code suites, and basically I've classified the tributaries for these digital business platforms. Will there be more convergence? Possibly. We're seeing things like smart cloud platforms. We're seeing analytics and mining working together. So they're either around learning and decisioning, analytics and mining, BPM and automation, content and collaboration. So we see a lot of action around video, voice streaming, business applications, cloud integration and data, and IoT and edge. And so these seem to be where these particular platforms are coming from. And it's a pretty common pattern. So I know this is an eye chart, sorry folks, but these are the digital business platforms that I've identified so far, and I tried to indicate where their strengths were. So if we take those 5 inside-out pieces, I'm not including customer journeys here, I'm not including the outside-in look, this is the inside-out look, where do they have their strengths? Every time you see a red check mark, this is where they're strong. So there's about 27 of these vendors, and you can see where their sweet spots are. So what combinations are working today? Where are customers getting tactical benefits? Where are their successes? Obviously, you can hear successes on RPA, but if you look rapidly at RPA, if it stays the same, it's a limited market. If it doesn't partner, it's somewhat doomed. It's a short-lived, very quick market. So it has to be automation platform or part of a digital business platform. So here are the independent pieces that we're starting to see come together. We see AI and the ability to either, through statistics or through recognition, consume large amounts of data, knowledge at speed. I mean, machines are deducing things so much faster than humans can. They are going to be assisting them. So knowledge augmentation is a big area that's been pretty much untouched. I remember the knowledge management and mapping craze that we had about 15 years ago. It kind of went away, didn't it? It's going to come back. And automation that can learn fast and augment the rules, augment the software, like a Waze. And the forlorn architecture. I feel so bad for architecture. It's so important, but it gets shunted to the side. And particularly where I see it having problems and really missing the boat is the notion of working out scenarios, simulating typical scenarios and say, how should I adjust my business plans, my goals, my KPIs based on a real live in-flight context. So today, business scenarios aren't as important when you're not under threat. The world economy is going okay. It's not going as great as it was last year, but sooner or later we're going to run into a situation where these particularly important scenarios will be important. Obviously, you can do an inventory of what you have. If you're on a burning platform and you're digitally transforming, you have to know what you have, and you can define a target architecture. So I feel sorry for architects. They don't get a lot of respect. Nobody really knows what they do, but their job is extremely important to the business. I think you'll see a raising of that. BPM, we all know about. It does help orchestrate and manage the necessary resources for an outcome. This may be broken down into smaller pieces, like Nathaniel shows. I believe it will. And maybe BPM is just a chart of what happened, and you take a look at it later. But I think there will always be snippets of coordinated work and sequence that will be involved. So BPM is a key piece of these tactical combinations. Content and collaboration, to manage work across multiple people, and even within your own range. How many of you have a really hard time knowing what the next best thing to do is, right? You've got these lists of everything you want to do, right? You got a boss hounding you on this. You have somebody else hounding you on that. You have a business user that you haven't taken care of as well as you would like. So you have these intermixing lists of things that you're working on, and what's important at any particular point in time shifts, and sometimes you need help and people are in your way. So the idea of collaboration and bringing up the right content to decide what's working and what's not. So the idea of team contribution, improved work scheduling, and agile and dynamic team contributions. That will be in the digital business platform. Probably an area that doesn't get as much respect as it is, and this is the beginning of the outside-in view, is the customer journey mapping. The reduction of the silo effect, constituent goals and outcomes are represented, and it's a customer representation on the goals. Today, your systems are whose goals? Are they the customers? Not really. They're the companies. Make me profitable. Make it automated. Not necessarily what the customer wants in a dynamic fashion. And Nathaniel's example was a good one. IoT. IoT is going to get very hot as components of the IoT environment become smarter. And we're putting decisions closer to the edge. So BPM may not even have to deal with that other than report. So these are some of the components that we can put together with other components. Low code, increased agility, fast coding, tactical delivery, particularly for legacy and transformation, and also process mining. You know, real visibility of outcome in real time, finding bottlenecks, finding opportunities, sniffing out some of the patterns that Nathaniel was talking about, verification for process effectiveness and outcomes. RPA, great for task automation, and it's going to get better as RPA gets smarter. If you want to read about where I think RPA is going, it's out on my blog. There's a lot of information out there. These are the pieces, and by the way, all of these are thriving. There isn't one that's below 10% compounded annual growth rate. There's not a single one. Some of them, like RPA, is on fire. Low code's on fire. Process mining is on fire. Also, the idea of unified communications, the idea of knowing who I am, where I am, in context of my world, what device I have available to me, how I can respond, am I on hours, am I off hours? This is a tremendous concept that's been lost. Maybe it comes when the government gives us an ID, stamps it on our forehead so anything can read where we are. I mean, I don't know, is it going to be out of our unique identifier and the roles we play and what we want in those roles? I don't know. But this area needs a lot of attention. You'll find that in a digital business platform. And what I call small p, it's really, I should call it big P. It's not that it's a big process, it's just a big area that's blowing up. Everybody's adding workflow. They're moving up to BPM. You find almost every tool has workflow, even Box and Dropbox. All of the collaboration tools have it. Workflow is a very hot area. So if you take a look, and this matrix drove me nuts trying to put it together, but it shows each of the areas, and I've got them color-coded, and I'm sorry some of the colors came out a little weak, but it talks about what skill level you need to get going, what the learning curve's like, what the benefits are, what is the time to benefit, what are the costs that it takes to get up and running, are there really great case studies out there, are there examples, do they partner well? Some industries and market segments don't partner well. What's the reputation? What's the growth rate? And then I put my editorial comment, which was usually, is it early maturity? Is it continuing to deliver real nice? So if you take a look at this little matrix, I gave it my rating. You may or may not agree with it. But I think the key is to take those things that have complementary benefits and put them together so that you can get results. So if you are working on something that has a high time to delivery, combine it with something that's a low time to delivery. So it took me a while to put this together, and this is a draft. So if you have feedback on this, I would greatly appreciate it. But you can see, let's use one area. Let's pick on low code because it's hot. Skill levels fairly low. Low learning curve, very high benefits. Time to get benefits is low. The costs are pretty medium. There are a number of evolving case studies that are starting to come out. The partnering level is low. Most of the low-code vendors that I talk to don't want to partner with anybody because they think they've got a good thing. So I would chide them for that. The reputation is high, the growth is high, and it's early maturity. So I think if you go through any one of these technologies, you as a vendor can say, who do I want to partner with? What sector do I want to go for? What and then you determine what partners there are, or you call me up and we talk about it. That's all. It was a legitimate approach. So I think while this matrix isn't perfect, I would say it's not perfect. My wife keeps telling me I've never done anything perfect in my life except pick her. She's right. Pardon? Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about the productive pairs. So I started off with in mind to talk about the productive pairs and the terrific triplets, saying just combining 2 or combining 3 gets you significant productivity. And what I did is I used the matrix that I built in the slide before to say, does this make sense? These are where I'm seeing case studies. If you combine customer journey mapping and BPM, which not many people have to date, but the ones that have are happy. You deliver a balance of customer satisfaction and efficiency. So now you have the customer goals, you have the company goals, and now it's a balance of getting both goals, not just the company goals. And that's more than user experience. BPM and AI, it delivers significant smart resources to take immediate actions. I think Nathaniel's example really made that clear. BPM and RPA. RPA is really good at tasks. BPM is good at context of where those tasks fit. BPM and process mining. Fantastic. I mean, I know one company that does process mining just in the healthcare area. And they've been able to save significant time to make the patient better examples. They've gotten rid of mistakes that, I mean, like it or not, people die in hospitals, right? And it's not necessarily because, you know, the hospital screwed up, but there was a combination of things that happened in the case that maybe should or shouldn't have. Or you didn't consider what the patient was allergic to, or you didn't have their full history, or you didn't take enough tests. IoT and AI, you're going to see a big emphasis on making devices smarter, particularly in infrastructure management. So these particular pairs are white hot. That doesn't mean that's not the only pairs that are going to be hot. These are ones that have proven hotness, whatever that means. Here are the top triplets today. These tend to go together very well. So the last one was peanut butter and jelly. This is probably peanut butter, jelly, and bananas. I don't know. But if you take a look at BPM, process mining, and RPA, that is a really hot combo. We're starting to see lots of examples that delivers targeted automation. It's not just automation for automation's sake. It's automation with targets. And by the way, I may be missing some of the pairs and triplets. I appreciate any input that you have. BPM, IoT, and AI. We know that IoT is generating gobs and gobs of fast data in large amounts. AI helps with that, and process actions at the edge. Might be a little mini process, may not be a big one, but some important steps using AI or algorithms. You're going to see a huge emphasis on that. This is another one that I'm starting to see emerge where architecture, low code, and RPA come up with a way to move away from burning platforms, using architecture to target, using low code to convert, and combining it with RPA to automate. So you get enough benefit from RPA to get the automation benefits. You get the low code benefits, and you get architecture guiding it. So we think this is I'm just me now. I think that that's a hot area. Workflow and content collaboration. We're seeing every collaboration tool starting to infuse workflow because they know that there has to be some sequencing, some precedence that's important. Unified communications, AI, and BPM. So the idea of having a smart chatbot, knowing where you are, what your context is, what your particular communication like at the moment in context, it delivers improved customer satisfaction. So how do we leverage these trends? Now, there was a lot of data. I think you're probably not going to have the feedback till you've had a chance to do a deep dive on maybe some of the charts that I did, and I'm sure I'll hear about it. You guys are not shy. So you may have to digest this. For the guys that run the conference, when will they have access to the charts, just out of curiosity?
They're going up today.
Perfect.
Most of them are on Twitter already.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you put them up there. Thank you. Not just you. So what's going to drive further cooperation and coopetition and collaboration? What are the drivers? Well, coming from that outside-in perspective, I think customer journey is going to require a lot of collaboration. And it may be a step at a time like Nathaniel showed us. Hopefully it will be agents that bid on work that customers want. And it may be from a competitive standpoint. Automation will require significant amounts of technology. You saw Nathaniel's architecture for automation. Autonomy at the edge, things acting freely using rules, constraints, and guidance that said, you can do anything, but just don't do this, because now you're going to put us out of governance, or maybe even hurt somebody. So this notion of autonomy at the edge requires agile technical interactions. The shift to goal-directed, outcome-driven work management. We heard that Nathaniel and I agree on that. We think that's important. Increased complexity drives for more coping. I mean, is your world more complex or less complex? More complex and getting more complex every day. Dynamic, I skipped one, and interacting contexts. So if you're working on an automation in one context and it bleeds over into another context, another industry, or another set of knowledge work, it may be different. And then quantum and other forms of parallel collaboration will emerge. I don't think quantum is the only thing. I'm talking to some people that have some other theories that go beyond quantum. Quantum is limited in how many parallel things it can do at the same time. So there are other forms of parallel collaboration, but quantum right now has the attention of the marketplace. So I say as vendors, you need to leverage this collaboration. It's going to get you into more business deals. It's hard sometimes to take a risk and collaborate with another vendor because you think they're going to try to steal your customer. They're going to try to steal your money. Or you might build it yourself with that collaboration built in. Start with combinations that deliver the short-term benefits. That's why I say go with the peanut butter and jelly and the peanut butter and jelly and bananas combination because they work today. I don't know if I'd like bananas with my peanut butter and jelly, but I think Elvis did. Yeah. Start with combinations that start building streams towards the digital business platform. You may or may not agree that that's a market, but it's an architecture that organizations are going to start to build if they don't have it already. Continue to integrate technologies to create specialty platforms. Automation platform, we saw one up there. Sales enablement platforms. Data science platforms. You're going to see a huge thrust of data science platform vocabulary coming out. Digital twin transformation. infrastructure. Infrastructure management. You're going to see a number of specialty platforms. I'm glad I don't have to cover all the digital business platforms because they're going to explode in terms of the numbers and the types and the specialties. Optimize the intelligent wave that's leveraging goals and constraints. And also, I believe that the great customer experience wins. You know, we had the example of Rocket Mortgage here, right? 2-3 years ago. They took a bunch of legacy systems, put a great customer journey in front of it, and in fact, Rocket Mortgage is probably known more than Quicken Loans. I mean, we know that Quicken Loans has Rocket Mortgage because we know about that, but I hear more about Rocket Mortgage than I hear about Quicken Loans. It's become a brand. And so we're going to see that kind of capability. The notion of starting with the customer experience, which means that you may have to break the way your business does business. How many of you have seen the Capital One ad where the guy comes in and knocks down the bank with all the columns, and all of a sudden they've opened a coffee shop and they have tellers next to coffee tables? Hey, that's a good new experience. I don't know. That wouldn't get me into a bank. I hate banks. But it might work for somebody else. So if you want some peeks at the future state, in 2013, I wrote a book with Jim Odell and Peter Finger, and we talked about intelligent agents, which are these small pieces of work where there's, in essence, bots, software bots, hardware bots, that are intelligent, that go out and seek work and really are goal-directed in the way that they work, and they bid on the work just in time. That was way ahead of its time. The book got me some hot dog money and some notoriety, so I guess it was worth it. The other one is digital transformation. You know, the list of maybe some of the emerging technologies would be different, but the book is still solid. And I'm here to announce that there's a new book that I'm co-authoring with Mark McGregor and Garo Decker on how to deliver a compelling customer excellence program, which includes a lot of different technologies and methods. And I'm really looking forward, and that's the reason I left Aragon, was to work on this book, to take an outside in. I've spent all my life inside out. Here's a technology, how can you best deliver it? Helping customers with that. I want to help them look from the outside in, which will include architecture, scenarios, customer experience, operational excellence. Combining those things in a balanced way. We've got a framework that we're working with, which we will release with the book. The first book will be around intelligent questions to ask and why you should be asking them. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how this works. So, oh my God, this has never happened in my life. I finished 5 minutes early. Wow, that's never happened. I guess when you don't work for the big G or some other firm that wants to sell something, it gets done quicker. So thank you very much.
Jim, I got a question.
Sure.
So in your chart, a lot of things that you talked about made sense. One thing I didn't see in there was capture technology. Because I see a lot of RPA and capture tools as a complicator. Where do you see capture?
Yeah, capture was part of that content collaboration piece.
Content collaboration.
Yeah, that's where it is.
You don't think it's separate than content collaboration, or you think the mission's the same?
I think you're seeing a lot of RPA applied to content collaboration. That's a good pairing. It's a hot pairing. And probably could have been in this pitch. That's not my background, so I probably kind of left it out. Be honest with you. I'm not very good at lying. Yes?
Jim, you didn't mention, at least I didn't hear it, anything about privacy in the whole thing. And people tend to fall into categories privacy, there's some way to do it, or maybe we should get over privacy. I'm wondering which of those categories.
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay, now we're going to get into belief systems. I believe in a universal ID that people have to have. That would be sponsored by the right people. That would say what you deem as private. But right now, the reality is there is no privacy. You think you have privacy? Ha ha ha. You don't. So I think the only thing that would solve that problem is some form of universal ID with your roles that you play and what your preference for that privacy is. I mean, I think we have a little bit of it in healthcare. I mean, and it's gotten to the point where you can't even share records. I mean, it gets in the way of actually treating people, to be honest with you. I've had doctors that wouldn't share the same damn tests, and they're all trying to make me better. My cardiologist won't talk to my physician. They won't share tests. No, you got to do it in my lab so I get my money, and no, I got to do it in my lab so I get my money. So I mean, it's like the privacy is you really don't have any in reality, even though you think you do, and you won't have it until there's a universal ID. My fear is the universal ID will be issued by the government. And my assumption is government is bad. So your assumption might be government is good. So I hope it's good. Someday it might be. Not right now. So anyhow, you can tell where I am on that particular issue. Any other questions? I didn't mean to scare you away with that terse voice.